Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RailCats podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savage, and today we're going to be talking about the preview of the Chicago Dog series coming up and a little bit about spring training and what I saw or more or less listened to and heard um, that actually got to watch, just because none of it was up on AATV until the last game. So I got to listen to Mixler a little bit when I was in between doing Mother's Day stuff and with my birthday and things like that, and me getting caught off guard by spring training, which completely threw me off guard. I was not ready for it. It threw off my game plan. I was going to go into more of like the Chicago Dogs, what I saw from, or their stats from last year, the people returning, stuff like that, and that got completely scratched because of the spring training and me trying to wrap my head around it, being thrown off guard on it. Like I said, RailCats didn't post anything up until 30 minutes before. The American Association didn't really post anything, so I think next year going forward, I think even though it's still spring training, I would still like to be promoted because you are playing games, and I saw other teams, promote it. That the Milwaukee Milkmen did. I'm pretty sure the King County Cougars did. Like they're like, hey, $5, come on, come watch us play. It still brings people in. I know it's spring training, and you're not trying to it's spring training. Like it is what it is, and people will understand that. I don't know if some people will get thrown off by it. They don't maybe not understand, but still, nonetheless, you get people in the ballpark, you get to meet people. Maybe you just don't want that kind of pressure yet. Like I fully understand that. Not being completely open to the public, but still something. Even if you're gonna limit it the capacity for some odd reason. But I think still promoting it is still getting people in will still bring you some kind of exposure, which this league needs, and most leagues need. Baseball in general just needs the exposure. So I think the more you put it out there, the more likely people are going to come. But I sidetrack from that. So with this new division alignment, I think the East is it's going to be very hard division this year. I mean, the Dogs they won the North last year. Milwaukee Milkmen are a good team. The Cleburne Railroaders are a good team. The new addition of the Lake County Dock Hounds. The King County, like this is going to be a very hard division. I think it's going to be very hard. Now I understand, it's not the other side of it where the Kansas City Monarchs where they won it all, and the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks. They're not in the division anymore. I mean, that's the team that they took out. They took out the Dogs last year to advance to the finals. But I still think the East is going to be very good. I think it's going to be a tougher division. So I whoever's going to come out, I think will be a lot better as far as that. So being at that bottom, being at the very bottom last year, you can only really go up, and think they have the ability to go up, especially with the pitching, which I'll get a little bit later. But there's some couple concerns I do have, but I think a lot of that is just timing and not being playing right away. They're just kind of thrown into it. It's not like the MLB where they have 3 or 4 weeks of spring training, so everyone can get things down. It was 4 games, and there you go, in and out. Like, all right, season starts, let's go. But just looking at the matchup from last year, the RailCats went 4-7 against the Dogs last year, and like 3 of those wins came, or 3 of the 4 wins came like 3 in a row against the Dogs in their first series, and then they lost one, they won one, and they didn't win anything else. And like I said, the Dogs had a record of 63-37, first in the North Division, lost to Fargo Moorhead Redhawks in the first round of the playoffs. And then speaking of the playoffs, they did expand it to an 8-team playoff. So the top 4 teams from each division will make it. And I think that I understand that, there's 6 teams per, if you're at the bottom 2 of that, like you're not making the playoffs. But I think that's a good number, especially if they keep adding, if they add more teams, if get more people to jump on the bandwagon and get more teams into the American Association, then eventually it'll spread itself out, it'll make itself better. But I think right now having an 18 playoff is perfect amount. Even if it's a smaller league, and yes, you have to be more than maybe the top 60 instead of the top 50%. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to be um all right, I should reverse that. Top 40, 40%. How am I? It's kind of weird how you. I'm just saying. You will be not being in the playoffs. You're the minority. And being in the playoffs, you're more of the majority. So like that's how that works. How I'm gonna put that. All right. So like a 60-40 kind of deal, whatever you want to put it as. So I think if they are fourth in our division, they're still going to make the playoffs, and there's still a chance. I think it gives more exposure and more people to, you know, to fight more for a position. Now you could be at the bottom of the totem pole there, but you're still only like a couple games out. Like you could turn your season around and make the playoffs. I think that's a good addition, and it makes it longer. It makes a longer playoff. It gets more people do it, do it, watch it, and it's just not over in a snap of a finger. Because baseball playoffs are over in a snap of a finger, anyways. Just because they can play every day, travel. They don't have to travel as much, so on and so forth. So I think they could potentially make the playoffs, but I have to see um more improvement offensively, because the issue is if you have a team that can pitch really good but can't have a team that can hit, you're not going to make it very far. Your pitching is going to get you only so far. This year pitching, I think personally, is going to make some steals in this year. I just think that they're going to, especially seeing what we saw from Edward Cuello. We saw great job from Adam Heidenfelder. Trevor Lipking did really well. I think Elio Serrano had a little bit of a struggle, but I think that's normal, I would say. I know Trevor gave up a couple runs, but he was still very dominant. But out of the two, Coelho and Heidenfelder were, you're looking two aces right there. Like if you have more than one straight up ace, like the pitching staff's gonna be very well. And here's the issue with that though: if they keep producing the way they were producing, I wish I could pull up the stats. I wasn't able to write things down and stuff because, like I said, I was kind of doing other things at the time, and they don't keep track of any of this stuff. So it's, I'm going off of kind of memory and things like that. Hearing and seeing what they were able to do, and shut down bats and keep games, a low 3, high 4 game, so on. So, a couple, I think the last game was kind of a, that kind of sucked, but it's going to get, their pitching is going to get better. Is this something that's sustainable? Probably not, because one of two things are going to happen here. All right. And I said this in a tweet earlier in the week. I said if the pitching is doing what they're doing and they're being sustainable about it, I know two guys, possibly three. I would just have to see. I would need maybe another game under his belt to really see what he's going to do, because he did give up like a home run and a couple other runs. But Cuello and Heidenfelder, if they're pitching the way they did, they are. Their contracts gonna get picked up. Especially the MLB. Pitchers are gonna go down. They're gonna have tweaks. They're gonna bring. They're gonna be like, okay, these guys can pitch. We'll bring them up. Instead of bringing up a low A prospect, or whatever, they'll just bring a guy that has some professional experience. They'll just bring him up, just to see what they can do. I think Trevor Lipking can get there. I think he is that third ace. I just don't know it's just a small sample size, and crazy things can happen. I guess the way I look at it is the pitching was so dominant, and our batting and fielding were not even there. I mean, there's a handful of players I can pick out for you. Michael Cruz did a great job. Um, Thomas Walraven, I know he got hurt in, I think, the second game. Um, I know he's taken out, so I don't know if he's back or will be back. He helped a lot. Uh, but I mean, outside of maybe Daniel Ngwa, um, KV Edwards, maybe Alec Outlud, there wasn't much, and fielding wasn't. Sorry for all the coffee. I was mowing and dust, and I got crap all up in my lungs. Fielding, there was we have glimpses. We have very good glimpses of very good defense. Let's see here. KV Edwards looked really good at third base. He made a couple. He made a backhanded stop, planted his feet, threw across. The guy was safe, but I mean, that was just it was a harder throw to make. But I think where the ball was hit, the commentators and the runner themselves were kind of shocked, because that's how he was able to set his feet, take the ball, and throw throw it on a dime. Like, beautiful bullet throw, caught, not enough, but it was there. I know Tommy McCarthy made a very good play at first base in the first game, and then Javian Williams made a beautiful dead center running towards the wall over the left shoulder catch, which I actually got to see. Was awesome. It was a great catch. I think the defense is there. I think it comes down to timing as well as the hitting. It all comes down to timing. Get the rust out. I mean, hitting is not very easy. Any baseball player will tell you that if you really think about it, you're taking a wooden stick and trying to hit a ball. The hand-eye coordination you need to be able to hit that ball, and to be doing it on a consistent level and get the timing down to someone. And it's just not straight up just fastballs. I mean, there's curveballs, there's sliders, there's changeups. Like, there's everything that is always. It always seems like it's something against the hitter. The hitter's looking for a pitcher to do something, make a mistake. Here and there. I mean, that's what you hear a lot of. Is a pitcher's going to make a mistake. You wait for a pitcher to make mistakes, and I think that's what the RailCats need to do. I think they need to watch more balls. I think they need to, maybe potentially just watch more pitches, get in the mindset of the pitcher. That's what baseball is just a big, faster paced chess game, if that makes sense, with a little bit more moving parts. I think you're trying to get in the minds of everyone. High fastball, slider, you got to know what count you're on, where the runners are at. I mean, but that's the other thing. They were making contact. They just were hitting it to people. There wasn't a lot of strikeouts or swings or misses or, looking at strike threes, stuff like that. I think that if they're still able to hit the ball, they'll still be able to get hits eventually. You'll find gaps. They need to be more consistent. They're getting hits and then sputtering out. They had people in scoring position and then sputtering out. Michael Cruz was tearing it up, hitting home runs and having a good time. I mean, Michael Cruz, very good hitter. Catching a little bit iffy. Yeah, there was a couple throws he made, a couple pass balls that he could have potentially had. But then, like I said, it's all rust. It's all trying to get that out of the system. And you're with a new team, a new manager, a new system. Like, this is all new. And getting into that as well, Lamar is implementing a professional environment. Like, these players are coming to play professionally. They're getting paid. He's treating them like they're going to get paid. they're adults. He's treating them like adults, and I think this is something that this organization needs. I think it's great for these players. You get that professional environment. You get that respect. I'm not 100% sure how Taggart did everything. I wasn't inside the locker room. I wasn't, falling forward into, covering this team as now I am doing right now. I'm full in depth. I'm going to give you as much as I possibly can every time I jump on this podcast. Every time I give you a tweet. It's not, I'm not trying to BS anyone. I'm trying to give you my feelings, my opinions, and the best of my knowledge what's going on. I know there's people that are inside the locker room, that's stuff you have to listen to. I'm just want to get to that point eventually, maybe one time, one point or another. But right now, it's just a matter of just kind of looking on the outside and in. So I think this team can be successful if the pieces click. If the pitching stays consistent and as dominant as they were during the spring training season, spring training games, it's going to be very hard to beat this team. But if the bats and fieldings can help out, there was a lot of times you look at the game, you're like, oh, it's 5-0. Pitching is not doing very, hitting it, but there was a couple errors, errant throws. I think they had more unearned runs than earned runs in the 4 games. First game they got 1 hit, no runs, lose by 1. And then the second game they got a combined no hitter. Like they got no hit. Like that's something you don't want to see. And then they go on and they get 3 runs, 4, I think 3 or 4 runs. They win that game. Pitching was dominant, awesome, and then it just kind of I think they lost like 5-0. And 2 of those runs were unearned because of a throwing error. Like that, just errors happen and the walks and things like that. I don't think the walks were majority of the issue. I think it was more of the errors, the throwing errors, the catching errors. There was one, they threw the ball down in the middle and the infielders weren't even there. Like miscommunication. It's just all about timing and you get the kinks out. I'm not basing their entire season off these 4 games, but I can tell you what I see and what can potentially be changed. But yet again, it's early. Now they're this is gonna be a tough series right off the bat. You're facing the Chicago Dogs. I'm pretty sure they're bringing like half people back. They lost a couple good people, but still, it's gonna be a very good Chicago Dog team, and this team is still young. Especially under a new manager, I would like to see during the regular season how it's all managed, and I think it's going to be a good season, good year. I think there's going to be a lot of positives on this whole season. So I think I'm going to give you my prediction on what I think the starting rotation is going to look like. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with Adam Heidenfelder first. Then I'm going to go Edward Coelho. And then Trevor Lupking. Then I think you're going to go with Leafstrom. And if they do 5, I'm pretty sure they're going to throw Elio Serrano up there because he did start in the game 4. Gave a couple, hits, runs, home runs, that kind of stuff. But I think that's how I think it's going to be Heidenfelder, Coelho, Heidenfelder, then Strom, and then Serrano. I think that's how they're going to run the rotation. But I'll be interested to see how it's going to go. So, I know right off the bat, tonight's game, I won't be able to cover. I do have to work. I close. I may be able to catch a little bit of it. And then Saturday, probably not again. Her family's coming over, so that stuff like that. But Sunday, I should be having a full breakdown Sunday. I'll have a post-game podcast, and then I'll probably have a series podcast come out after that. I'll see, and then I'll do like a what happened during the series, how the series went, I think it should have gone, if it went the way we think, so on and so forth. And then we'll look at the next team and so on and so forth, what they did in their previous series, and so on and so forth. And then the 20th is the home opener, which I will be at, which I think will be a fun time. Get out. It seems like the weather's starting to change a little bit. I mean, I think it's supposed to go back down to the 60s this week coming up. But I still think it's a good time for the environment. The atmosphere. It's the perfect time to start baseball. It's not too cold, not too rainy. It's just getting that right time. So I'll be excited for that and looking at all of that other stuff. So if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at RailCats Talk, Facebook, all the other good stuff. Instagram. I don't really get on Instagram much, but when I can, I'll try. But like I said, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, like I said, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I will catch you in the next podcast, which will probably be Sunday night after the post game, after hopefully a win. And yeah, go Cats.